Hey everyone, so welcome to this week's episode of the Good News. It's been a while since I did a Good News episode, so I'm just going to make this one a little short and sweet. So I just want to start with local story from here in Edmonton. So anyone here in Edmonton has probably heard of the Hope Mission organization. What they do is help feed and shelter the homeless people in Edmonton. So recently they announced that they're going to be using the old downtown remand center as an overflow shelter. And this is pretty awesome because, people will be provided with mats to sleep on, a roof over their heads and with food. Like the whole mission right now is saying that they're busier than they've ever been, with all the snow we just got, it's not hard to tell why. So it's pretty awesome to see that an old building that was pretty much used to destroy lives before is now being used to help repair the lives of the people here in Edmonton. So that's pretty awesome. Good for them. And so sticking to, Alberta and some more local stories, I want to talk about something that happened probably over a month ago now. I was gone for a bit, but it's from Cold Lake, Alberta. And so it was right after the white gunmen stormed Parliament and attacked or whatever. I won't get into that, but the media blamed it on radical Islam. So obviously, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that when the media is blaming a certain group of people, whether they're responsible or not, there's going to be backlash against that group of people. And so what happened in Cold Lake was that a mosque there got vandalized, with graffiti and whatever, with racist slurs and phrases. It was pretty disgusting, actually, what happened, but the response kind of surprised me. So the response from the community was that everyone showed up at the mosque and helped to clean it up, and wrote loving phrases, letting the people, letting the Muslims know that go to that mosque, that, they are home, this is where they belong, and that, don't get down just because a few bad apples are brainwashed by the media, So it was pretty awesome to see the community come together and, clean up the place and help repair everything that was damaged, because that's what Canadians, what being Canadian is about, just what this community just did. Being Canadian is about multiculturalism. It's about community, it's about love, about peace and family and accepting people for who they are. That's why my family moved here, and that's why I'm still here. So sticking to the Canadian stories, there was a woman in Winnipeg recently who, despite her own poverty, does all she can to feed the poor in her city. She distributes bannock and soup to the hungry in Winnipeg. And so recently her car was impounded for, I think it was unpaid tickets or whatever, it doesn't really matter. And so the community gathered around her to help get it back so that she could continue her work. I mean, that was the only way she was able to deliver food to people and stuff. So without a car, it would have ended and a lot of people would be going hungry. So this is, again, showing what being Canadian, what being human is all about. Just people supporting each other whenever anyone is in need. So now moving to the United States for a couple of stories. In California, there is an assisted living home, it's named Valley Springs Manor, that was recently stopped receiving funding and therefore was basically shut down. So once the staff stopped being paid, they did what pretty much 99% of people would do. They stopped showing up to work. I mean, who would go to work for free? Well, these two guys would, because after everyone left, it was the cook and the janitor that stayed behind, because they said if they had left, the residents would have no one. And a lot of these residents, they're all elderly and dealing with dementia and, and other disorders. So it'd be pretty crazy and pretty bad if they were left to fend for themselves. So these men stayed behind for several days, often for 24 hours. They would only go home just to shower and change, and then they'd go straight back, so feeding them, cleaning them, and, whatever else had to be done for these residents. It's pretty crazy. They didn't want to leave them by themselves. And so, after several days of doing this, the state and the sheriffs stepped in, formed new laws so that this wouldn't happen again. And, now the residents are being taken care of. So it's pretty awesome that these men were able to put their lives on hold to help out some residents that had basically no one else there to help them. And so for the last story, I'll be again in the United States, this time just moving to the other side of the country in Florida. So recently in Fort Lauderdale, they passed a new law saying that it pretty much prevents anyone from feeding the homeless, which is, I know, it's crazy. How can anyone pass any law that prevents you from helping somebody? But anyways, so there was a man that, that's what he would do, is he would feed the homeless. So he didn't care if there was a law against it. And so he kept feeding them. He got arrested once. It was a pretty big deal. Got arrested again the same week. Another pretty big deal. And then he got arrested a third time. So he's been arrested at least 3 times that I know of for feeding the homeless. And finally there was a judge that said this is crazy and ordered the police to stop arresting this man for feeding the homeless. I mean, it's crazy. Taking up tax dollars and time and all of his resources when this guy isn't doing anything wrong. And so he's stopped being arrested, and now there's also a pending lawsuit that's going to be launched against the police and others for this abuse. So that's pretty much all I have for this week. I just wanted to make another episode just because I hadn't spread any good news in a while. So if you have any news stories you want to share with me, wrote those questions at outlook.com or wrote those questions on Facebook, in Foreign Planet, Instagram, wherever, so you can get a hold of me. Thanks for watching, and see you guys next time.